unconditional love, and I want to talk about that in this video. So one piece is that it's so easy to love people when they meet the right conditions and they don't piss you off. But it's so hard for you to love people when they piss you off, when something doesn't sit right with you, some quality about them. And so in this video, let's really get deeper into that. And I should mention, this is coming from a community question. So, unconditional love, I'm reading the question right now. So, I feel like it's going to take a good while before I can separate the good from the bad. Maybe it's not even that. It's not even about that too, because unconditional love is loving them regardless of their bad actions. But I don't know how to do that without feeling like I'm siding with them or justifying bad deeds because they're humans. I kind of have the mindset that not all people should be treated the same just because they're alive. So this is the primary point that I am trying to dissect here. Okay. So, some people, it seems, are bad. Now, it may be qualities, and bad can range, right? It can be an annoying quality, like they chew with their mouth open, or like they have this way of speaking that's really like scathing. They like to joke around a lot in terms and deprecating kind of a humor towards you and other people. So those are some qualities that you are bad, but they're not like they punch elderly people, right? And that's like annoying level. But on the other end of the bad, the kind of the epitome and the most common easy example for this is basically Hitler, right? Genocidal people and people who cause a lot of harm and other things. Okay, so how do you love those people? And is it absolutely necessary for you to love people like that? Going into that second question first, loving people is not a must, right? Of course, you over time, the more you live life and the more experiences you have about caring a lot about people, you will come to understand that holding hate in your heart doesn't really make that other person suffer, but it just makes you suffer. But it may be okay. Maybe you hate the baby who's crying behind you at the airplane, right? That's fine. You can temporarily hate the baby and then you're not going to think about it, like you're not going to ruminate upon it. You're not going to, 5 years later down the line, going to be like, oh my god, I should look up that baby and see what that stupid baby is up to. You're not going to do that. So, it's okay to hold that kind of hatred in your heart. It's nothing wrong because you have the degree of freedom to do it. But, it's an option available to you when you have suffering in your heart because you cannot, because you hate them so much. So, for example, I'm gonna use Korea as an example because I have the most context around that, but obviously this can extend towards other geopolitical conflicts as well. So, Korea used to be raided by the Mongolians. Korea used to be raided by the Chinese. Korea used to be raided by the Japanese, the recent and the most famous one, right? And so, if you are a Korean, you have this burning hatred of Japan because they're the most recent ones. And we're very indoctrinated from our youth to kind of hate the Japanese. And now, what happens is, Japan is really proximately close, right? Proximity-wise, its location is right next to Korea, which means there's a lot of cultural interchange. And you also know that a country has people with that country's associated stereotype, but it doesn't always mean that that country is going to be full of only stereotype people, right? So I may have this idea that all Japanese people are really bad, but then once I go to Japan, why go to Japan in the first place? Because it's like I hate Japan, but at the same time it's kind of cool, right? Like all the anime stuff, all the castles, and all the, blah, 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 blah. Like, it becomes this really complicated relationship, right? I think it's cool to go to Japan, and then but at the same time, if I go, I'm a traitor, and then I go and then I meet Japanese people, and then it turns out not all of them, like they're not like they know I'm Korean because I explained to them, hey, I'm a tourist and I'm trying to find a way and I'm trying to go to this hotel, and then I explained this in Japanese, and then they're like, oh, you're Korean, and then they're not like, ha, you low life scum. And this isn't to say there aren't people like that, because there definitely are, but it also means that Japan is not a monolith. So I find that, whoa, well, this Japanese guy is like kind of nice, but at the same time, I hate this person because he's Japanese. So now it gives me a conflict, right? I hate this nice person, so what does that make me, right? So if this person is so horrible, why is he being nice to me right now? And the more I get into that consumption, my mental consumption of this idea that this person is bad, the more I keep doubting the intentions of this person, and that this person is just like guiding a tourist. But here I am, all in my head, having a horrible time, right? So this is kind of a simplified example of why holding suffering in your heart with hatred doesn't really serve you all that well. Okay, but if I like this person, my community is asking me, if I like this person, then am I not condoning that everything that they stand for? And I think this is a classic cognitive trap called black or white thinking. And in black or white thinking, there's no middle ground. So, suppose you don't smoke, and you have a wonderful friend, and that friend happens to smoke. So, your friend has been there for you since like 7th grade. Your friend, you went to all the concerts together. Your friend, all the late night, text conversations, and your friend always includes you to things. Your friend decided to roommate with you in college. Your friend who did all of that with you, shared your entire life with you, and went through very vulnerable periods. You went to your friend's mom's funeral, and you were there to kind of spend the night with your friend. You do all of that, and the friend smokes. This doesn't mean that you are going to necessarily abandon the friend because, that means I'm condoning smoking and I'm contributing to the tobacco industry if I continue being friends, right? It's not that extreme. So, obviously this is a very simplified example, but what I'm trying to say is the bad qualities that a person has, right? It's a part of their entire inventory of personality. So you may have a friend who's really kind of like, gentle and sweet-hearted in general, but once competition is on, they get really salty and they become a really sore loser, right? So it may turn out to be like not that good of an experience to play sports with this friend. Because why? Keeps flaming the other team, keeps blaming our team members for not being good, and then gets really upset when they lose. Okay, so that can really make the relationship sour at some times. But if this is a guy you randomly know or a girl you randomly know, it's like, ugh, go away, right? You don't need to necessarily have a deeper relationship with this person. But contrast that to like an elementary school friend, your childhood buddy who grew up like this too, and then you're still friends, right? So in this case, and the guy or girl you randomly met, what's the difference? Your friend, you decided that they are your friend, and up to a certain point, that until that friendship is really tested, are you gonna still be my friend even if I do this? Until that point, your friend can do all these random things. Your friend can piss you off. Your friend can do XYZ. But you have decided that this person is your friend, right? And because of that, they can have these really poor qualities, but you can understand them. Because you probably know something about this person, this friend, why this person is like this. Because, for example, they were always compared to their siblings. And they always had a bad time when they didn't really do well in a meet, but their sibling did. Or another thing might be like the friend might have been bullied from a past school because they learned to develop this like really hyper competitive and top dog mentality because being at the bottom means that I'm gonna be bullied again. So you are interested and you care about these things and you know the context of this friend, which makes it a little bit easier for you to understand and accept the bad qualities that this friend has, right? But it doesn't mean that you are condoning that behavior. So, if you're not condoning that behavior, you're kind of letting that person have that belief, but you are not participating in it. Some things may be simpler to do that. So, for example, if you're not that competitive of a person, but you just don't like it when your friend gets upset, then it's sort of okay, right? Because your friend isn't competitive all the time. But suppose your friend has a habit of using, and that you really care a lot about because you've had a family member who has had a history of using. And in that case, it can be really difficult to kind of be civil around the topic of you're doing this. You have this trait that I really don't appreciate. Okay, so we're in this situation where you have a friend. You have not. It doesn't have to be your friend. It can be your mom. It can be your dad. It can be your sister. It can be your brother. It can be your colleague. But you're forced to be in close proximity with this person that you care deeply about. And they have this trait that you don't want them to have, but they do. So, wishing that they didn't have this is out of the question now. Because why? They already do. So, for example, suppose my grandparents got cancer. I don't want them to have cancer, but they do, right? It's already too late for I wish they didn't have that. Okay. So just like that, the fact that they have this quality, the fact that they have this trait is already there. And you can't really do anything about it. Because why? You can't enter their life in God mode, cheat code, and then remove that trait, right? But that doesn't mean that you are completely powerless here. You can let the friend know that, hey, friend, this quality that you have, it really hurts me. And I wish you wouldn't have that. And that is totally fine for you to express, right? And now, your friend, your loved one, the person you care about, has a chance to evaluate that perspective and then they can decide what to do for themselves. Now, as you're expressing yourself, is it better for that relationship for you to be really upset when you're talking about this? I fucking hate that trait. I told you so many times. I don't want you to do that. Versus, I know this is a really difficult thing to say, and like it's really awkward to say it like this, but I'm really saying this because I really care about you and I really cherish our relationship. And when you do actions like XYZ, it hurts me because XYZ. And I just really wish that you wouldn't do XYZ. But I understand that the choice is up to you, but I feel like I need to let you know that when you do this, it really affects me. And that kind of communication is more likely to lead to a result that is more amicable, right? But you might be thinking, that's not really effective because you want them to change. Then you have to realize that tendency inside of you that you want to control other people, you want to puppeteer other people. But you can't, right? Because other people are fully formed human brains that have free will. And the more you hold on to that desire of wanting to control other people, the worse you're gonna feel. And that is something maybe you have to learn in your life by experience. So, to summarize, just because someone has that trait and you love them doesn't mean you condone it. Doesn't mean that you are for what that person stands for. Loving a person unconditionally means that you accept that person has that trait. And that's all there is to it. You don't need to like it. You don't need to. It's nice if you like it. It's not required that you like it. But the moment you try to change it, then it's not unconditional love. Like, it's totally fine to love this person, but not that trait. And still respect that. Like, I don't like it when, suppose, the person who's sitting next to me is like left-handed because it collides with my right-handedness, right? But okay, it's inconvenient, but it doesn't mean like fuck you suddenly all of a sudden. It's not like that, right? You can inconvenience me and I can still love you. And in the wide range of, topics, when something does align with you, when some trait that they have you don't really care about, then it's fine. It's easy to kind of love them. But when the trait that they have is something that you deeply care about and you don't want them to have it, you can communicate that. And at the same time, when you communicate that, it's generally much easier for peaceful propositions to lead to a more amicable result. But if you find all of that too taxing for you and this is causing suffering for you, then might be a good idea to just abandon the relationship altogether. Because why? We're not trying to solve all types of human problems, right? We're trying to reduce suffering. So, if you have no problem hating this person and you're not suffering, good, hate away. If you are hating this person and you feel like the hating is causing suffering, you can try loving this person. Now, if trying to love this person is incurring more suffering, then it's a good idea to just abandon the relationship altogether. And now, if that even causes suffering, then might be time to look at your life instead of other people. So, turned out to be a fairly long video, but I wanted this answer to be very comprehensive. So, I will see you in the next video.